Good evening. The Design Review Board 1 public meeting of December 3rd, 2009 is called to order. Please refrain from talking amongst yourselves during the meeting, and please turn off or put on vibrate all cell phones and pagers. If you need to talk, please leave the meeting room. Anyone who wishes to speak, including applicants, is asked to completely fill out one of the speaker's cards provided at the table by the front door and submit it to staff. You'll be called to present a case or speak on a specific item as desired. Anyone who wishes to be re-noticed about a project must completely fill out one of the postcards provided at the table by the front door and submit it to staff to receive notice of subsequent meetings. Current DRB agendas are available by calling our DRB hotline at 818-548-3171 or by visiting our website at www.ci.glendale.ca.us. A handout describing procedures of the meeting, possible board decisions, and DRB reconsideration and appeals is available at the table by the front door. Please note that appeals must be filed within 15 calendar days of the DRB decision date. The chairperson may reorder agenda items at his or her discretion. Roll call. Mr. Aliano.
Here.
Mr. Insua.
Here.
Palmer.
Here.
Mr. Simonian.
Here.
Mr. Yu.
Here.
Report regarding posting of the agenda. The agenda for this meeting was posted on the bulletin board outside City Hall at or before 5 p.m. on November 25th of 2009. Oral communications. Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to speak on an item not a part of this agenda? Do you have any cards?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. Then we will move on to the review calendar. Staff does not have any announcements at this time. There is one item on the consent, and you can either vote to remove that item from consent and put it on the regular calendar if you wish to discuss it, or you can just vote anything.
Okay. Was there anyone that had any comments on that
Project. That's the one on Spire Boulevard.
Yes, the one in the consent calendar.
I don't.
Don't have any objection.
Okay. Do we have a motion to?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the project as indicated by staff's report.
I'll second it with a recommendation that this gets put into one of that continuing growing binder as work that continues to improve and elevate the work. Excellent work.
All right, so we have a motion, and we have a second motion by Mr. Simonian, a second by Mr. Insua, and roll call, Mr. Aliano.
Yes.
Mr. Insua.
Yes.
Mr. Simonian.
Yes.
Ms. Palmer.
Can I make a correction? I have a question. There's no, I don't like that.
Well, because we have to.
Do we need to? We
have a
need to take it
motion on
off
the floor.
consent then, I believe.
Yeah.
Well, it's not a big issue, so let's go ahead.
Okay, Ms. Palmer.
Okay, yes.
And Mr. Yu.
Yes.
So it'll be 5-0, approve, no conditions.
Thank you. Welcome to Design Review Board 1. We have two items on the regular agenda. We'll move on to the first one, 1181 Spacier Avenue. Well, you ready to go?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Board members, good evening. The first case for tonight is 1 PDR 2009-068A, located at 1181 Spacier Avenue. This proposal was reviewed by the board on May 28, 2009, under a different case number, and at which time board voted to return it for redesign. And because the project was submitted 90 days later of its final decision date, it's got a new case number. So it is a new case, but the board is encouraged to look at the previous case as well and compare it, because they apply to address the conditions and the comments made by the board. The proposal is to construct a new detached 1,026 square foot two-story second unit at the back of the existing lot with the existing single-story house at the front. The proposal also includes a new 360 square foot two-car garage. The project site is located in the R2250 zone. It is exempt from CEQA. This house was reviewed by the historic preservation planner, who determined that this is not of any significant historic resource, and the style of the existing house is actually Spanish. The board had two conditions and a few comments and considerations from May 28th meeting of 2009. I'll quickly go over those. The first condition was, you know what, I should probably get up there and walk you through it.
Sounds good.
The first condition was to redesign the site plan and the overall layout to take advantage of the existing conditions. When we say existing conditions, one of them was the existing garage, which was initially proposed to be detached from the proposed house, or the proposed house was detached from the existing garage. And a couple of comments were raised by the board, including either include the garage in your design of the new unit or demolish it and relocate it to maximize green space. Staff has been working with the applicant intensively on this. Many different versions were brought to us for review, and as it turns out, if this garage was relocated, it would actually maximize the pavement, because they would have to have a turning area to turn around and head straight into the street instead of backing on Glenwood, because it's a collector street. They can't back into the street. But that would actually maximize the pavement. So what the applicant did instead is keep the existing garage where it is and sort of integrate it into the design of the new unit, which are also shown in the elevations. That's how the applicant tried to address this one condition. And the second one was to redesign the building exterior to be more consistent with the front unit and better within the surrounding neighborhood. The design of the building has changed. Second story actually has been pushed back further from the street as it's viewed from Glenwood. The entryway, another major change to the design is the entryway, where there's a more prominent feature to the entryway, as before it was just a door. And then some comments, which was one of them was to demolish the garage. I already went over that with you. Most of the comments and the considerations were regarding the site planning and the overall layout. The applicant has still been able to take advantage of the alley in the back and have the access to the second unit from the alley and keep the existing garage. At the same time, has tried to work with the design and integrate the existing garage with the design and also make it a workable site plan so that they could have more green space and more usable common outdoor space. Staff recommends an approval of this project with some conditions. One of them is to redesign the east elevation, which would be this one, as it has a more vertical appearance. And staff recommends that this portion be cantilevered as well, and corbels be added. Also would be on the north elevation to soften up that both facades actually, which would be the east and also the north, which is viewed from this side. There's already cantilever, so we recommend corbels there. Second condition is reconsider the design of the second floor at the south elevation to better integrate with the massing of the roof. Third one is to unify the first floor at the south elevation, for example, wrap the roof around the balcony to create a transition between the roof and the balcony railing. That would be this elevation here. Staff recommends that the roof be wrapped around the balcony instead of just stop at the railing. Match the garage doors to the existing, because the proposal is a metal white door and the existing is wood, I suppose. I'm getting a nod from the applicant that it is a wood door, so we're recommending that they match the door and use a two-piece barrel tile rather than S tile for the roofing. I'll have the applicant address these conditions and how they feel about it, if they want to meet the conditions or they have any concerns, but if you have questions for me, of course.
So you're recommending the corbels, the garage door, the roof around the back?
Right.
What was the fourth one?
Consider designing the second floor of the south elevation to better integrate with the massing of the roof. South elevation would be, that's north, that would be south.
South is inward.
Maybe.
Right? South is inward. facing the adjacent house.
I'm trying to.
Because north, the garage is
That would be
facing
this one, yes. That would,
Yeah,
That one's south.
The rear.
this would be, yes, this would be the neighbor down. Facing the
that's
neighbors.
facing south.
Yes.
Right.
So the common is basically the transition between the first and the second floor.
Well, you were proposing extending the roof, right?
Correct. To wrap it around the back.
And don't have a balcony, because right now they have a door.
Have a balcony, but underneath like a little.
Yeah, so the roof would step down where the balcony is, and then just extend out.
Like a mansard of some sort?
Well, I think what we were trying to convey is that the roof, the angled roof as shown, as it butts up right against the balcony, is not very well integrated, not well integrated formally. So we made a suggestion of how that could be better managed. It would require reducing or eliminating the balcony if that roof were to go in front of the railing or act as the railing, if you will. So that was just a suggestion. The board likely has a better idea as to how to resolve that. There's also not mentioned in the recommended conditions, but in the text of the report, there's a discussion about considering some of the window sizes because they're not that consistent all around. So we just wanted to also call your attention to that.
This railing, is it somewhere here? No.
These are the old drawing. No,
That would be here.
This is the new one.
That would be the railing right around the drum.
I see, that's
Oh, so that's the south end.
Yes. That's the north, so yeah, that would be the south. And the applicant has been proactive to read the report and already has tried to address these conditions. I think he will have some exhibits for you to go over.
I don't understand this elevation. What is that? It's called side elevation, but,
That would be this.
oh, here's that little piece.
This is facing the existing
This is
house.
facing the existing house, though.
No, this is facing the street, Glendale.
Oh, the house is here.
This would be facing the house.
So
that's
that's market, because I'm getting very...
Yeah, make sure we get north-south stuff.
Yeah, the orientation is
So is
not-
this the street?
Yes.
Street is
Can we
north.
call it street?
Yes,
That's north.
which is north.
Which is north.
And then this is our south,
Which is
and then this is our west.
the existing house, and that would be the alley.
And then over here, the side, this one is...
The east. That would be, let me write that down quickly. Actually, you're right, this would be opposite. This would be west. So this would be west, this would be east, this would be north, and do you have any more questions for me?
This is just elevation.
Yes. This little offset here, is that because of this, the requirement?
Yes,
for that
averaging of the setback.
5'2", it has to be.
Minimum 5 average rate.
I see, so this garage is from the alley.
Yeah.
Correct,
okay,
correct.
now
The
I
new
understand.
garage would be from the alley, yes.
I got it, so the alley is
Existing stays where
here.
it's at.
The alley is here on the street is here.
Yes,
I got it.
on the
For
perspective.
some reason, I was thinking that was the street. Okay.
Okay, do we have any questions for staff? Okay. And let's go on to the card that I have, Mr. Aris Artunian. If you could state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, board members, city staff. My name is Aris Artunian. I reside at 4235 Ramsdale Avenue, La Crescenta, California, 91214. Gabriel already went over almost everything. I just want to make some key points. going back from the first meeting. We just want to make sure that some of these points are understood. Since the last meeting, we've been working with staff approximately 6 months, considering a variety of site layouts, many of which included demolishing the existing garage. We did consider that layout. And a lot of problems arose from doing that, and as we found out when working with staff. The main problem is once we demolish the existing garage, we now have to provide a 20 by 20 garage for the existing house, which cannot face Glenwood, because Glenwood is a collector street and we cannot back up into Glenwood, in which case we would have to have enough space for a vehicle to turn around, or we have to come in and make a 90-degree turn into a garage, which just created a lot of hardscape on the lot. And so we proceeded forward in keeping the existing garage and working around it. The new unit is now attached to the existing garage, and on top of it, the new unit is set back further inside the property. The setback averaging is not even close to the requirement from the alley side and from the street side. And there's a lot of open space at that corner where the alley meets the street. The new design of the unit is more horizontal, as the board wanted it to be. The second floor is on top of the existing garage, and it's parallel to the site. It's set back towards the rear side of the site, away from the street, as Mr. Nazarian mentioned. The garage doors will be the same color. Just to mention that they will be the same color. They won't be different colors. The south elevation, we've made some changes in accordance to staff's recommendations that I just gave to Georg, and he can show those to you. The roof wrapping around the balcony. The balcony is set back on the existing roof, and it faces the neighbor, and on that side of the neighbor, the building is not at the property line. The building is further set back further towards the alley, so the building is not facing the neighbor's building exactly. And so the balcony being set back and not facing the building, there is privacy for the neighbor and for the balcony as well. It's not directly overlooking the neighbor's property. The common outdoor area, as mentioned in the staff report, is more accessible by both units. The new unit can access the common outdoor area either from the front or from the back. We provided a door in the garage, so they will have easier access around the back, and we also have a door coming out onto the driveway, which walking distance to the common outdoor area across the driveway. Just wanted to make sure that we understand that our property is at the edge of where the R2250 zone ends, multifamily zone ends, and where the R1 family zone begins. We are abutting them perpendicularly. And so we cannot be expected to completely mimic what the R1 zone does, because we are a multifamily zone. On this lot, we can legally add another unit. According to the code, we can add 3 units on this multifamily zoning lot. Having said that, we have tried not to be completely oblivious to the R1 homes that are around us. We have tried to be sensitive to them, tried to be in many ways like them, the orientation of the new unit, the way it enters. We just simply cannot provide as much frontage for it as an R1 could facing the street parallel. The floor area that we are allowed on this lot is 85%, and what we are proposing is 50%. That's 35% less than what the code allows us to have in terms of floor area. And the lot coverage is 50%. What we're proposing is 43.7. We have increased open space. There's a lot of open space on this property, common outdoor area around the second unit. I mean, there's a lot of potential green space on this property. We consider this property the transition between the multifamily zone and the R1 zone, and we think it's very appropriate as a transitional property. The site layout is more unified now, works better for both units. because we are more towards the existing house, we are more inside the property. You also have to keep in mind that with setback averaging, it pushes the structure towards the center of the property. We can't just set it at the corner because there is no fixed standard setback. We have to average the setback, which pushes it towards the center. If you have any questions, I can answer them right now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any questions for the applicant?
Question. So right now, there's a gate on the street for the garage, and there's a fence and all. Are you keeping all that?
For the existing garage, yes. There's a fence, and it will end where the new unit is. And if the owner chooses to add a fence, it will be according to the fence guidelines.
So you will wrap the fence, and right now the fence is all the way across, and there's a gate here, right?
Right.
Somewhere here. So the gate will stay, but then your fence, well, I guess your fence will wrap like this, somewhere here,
Right.
close, separate.
Either it does not. It's not going to wrap around and close it. It will either end there or it will be taken out.
So the gate, because you really don't need that gate.
Potentially, there's a lot of things that can be done.
I think we should talk about that, because now that you have a building there, the gate, the wall and everything, it just makes it very awkward. Because you kind of want to see the building from the street. You don't want to...
There's existing landscaping all around the property. It's not that there's a fence, and you can see the fence. It's just a lot of landscaping, as you can see in the elevation pictures on the survey, photo survey.
Okay, great. Okay. Thank you. Do we have those pictures handy here?
I think there's this one here.
The window types for the project, what sort of windows are you proposing?
As it mentions in the staff report, let me get to that, to the old one. It's fiberglass recessed windows.
And are you using 2x4 framing or 2x6 framing?
It depends if we're going to sister frame the garage or going to add another member to the existing garage. Probably will be 2x6. It depends on the structural analysis.
And then it seems as though there's some sort of treatment around the windows and the sill and also on the sides, but definitely on the sill. Is that a wood sill?
Yeah, it's a wood sill and the frame to match the existing windows that are on the existing house.
Okay. And then is there a typical surround around the windows as well?
Yes, there's a thin wood frame around
Wood
the
trim.
existing windows with wood trim, which will be copied on the new.
And they're all, the wood trim and the wood sill
Yes.
and the window are all the same color?
Yes.
That's what you're proposing?
It's the same color as the trim.
And this latest version over here, this is the latest version as far as your design?
It addresses some of the comments of the staff about wrapping the roof around the balcony, and then that roof, in essence, is now on top of the existing portion of the existing garage that was flat on the old ones, as you can see.
And is this the actual color on the...
We try to match the color close to the closest is the material board.
The material.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have no other questions. Thank you. Any other questions?
I have a question. Over the existing garage, there's now a little 12-inch roof, and I don't know if that's being removed. It just shows a brown line. I'm not sure what that is.
Which part are you talking about? I'm not. Which
Of
elevation?
the existing, what should be the north elevation right here?
That's just the shadow. It's
Right
the
now
second
there's a
floor is
little-
cantilevered out.
There's that little roof on there right now. Is that?
Yeah, the roof will be a lot of the existing roof is being removed on the existing garage.
Okay.
The rule in working with the staff is if we maintain 50% of the structure, we can maintain
Exterior walls and roof area.
exterior walls and roof. We can keep the size of the garage, in which we are more than doing.
So that garage is recessed? I mean,
The existing garage remains, and the second floor on top of it cantilevers out on top of it.
okay.
Okay. Any other questions? No? Thank you. The next card I have is Fred Galstian. If you could state your name and address for the record, please.
Fred Galstian, 1181 Speijer Avenue. Mr. Chair, board members, ladies and gentlemen, I'm the property owner, and I would like to add a few things in addition to what our architect said from the owner's point of view. We've been working with the planning department almost 10 months now, since last February. That's a very long time to work on a project like this. So what I'm trying to make a point is, we tried many, many different scenarios to get to this point, what we're presenting to you right now. And from the last meeting, we also watched the video. I watched it separate, my wife watched it separate, our architect watched it separate. We watched it together, we analyzed every statement, every comment was made thoroughly, so to understand what is it that the board wants from us, so to come up with the best plan to present to you. And this is what we have. Also, last time, there was one person who presented to you some false statement that there are no multi-story in the area. Just for your review, I did some survey, and you can see that actually we are surrounded by multi-story buildings. It's not like we're proposing something in the middle of desert to build a 5-story building. There are many multi-story that are around us, single family and multi-units. So you can go through, there are pictures, there's a map, you can see everything is there. And also on Glenwood, we are the only, from Alameda to Sonora, we are the only property who is in R2250 zone. So what I'm asking you, that just comparing us to the north of us, there are all the R1s, it's not just fair. I mean, I kind of feel like I'm being punished for being the only R2250. So please consider the fact that even though we're surrounded by R1s, but we are located on R2250, and there are other on the south of us. One of the factors that we considered when we were designing this was the privacy. Privacy, everybody wants to have privacy. That's why we designed the new property in a way so it has, even though we have common area, it's part of the whole thing, but also has its own privacy. Like our bedrooms don't look at each other. And also like the common outdoor area, we want to keep private to us between the existing house and the new house. It's our outdoor area. And we try to keep away from Glenwood Road. It's a busy sidewalk. I've been living there for 7 years, and believe me, it's a busy sidewalk. People walk there all the time, and I would hate to have my outdoor area sitting on a chair next to a sidewalk. So that's another reason we try to keep our outdoor area in a kind of like a private. And another thing I'm asking you to consider also, that we're constrained by many codes and regulations. We couldn't just do anything that we wanted to. Believe me, I mean, during this...
Let's just wrap up, it's fine.
Okay. Just to make a comment to you about the gate. We have a dog. There's a good reason that we have a gate and a fence, and I would hate to see my dog wandering around. That's why we can find a solution. We can leave the gate there and put a little, kind of make this our own gated community, but it's going to be a small fence that the dog cannot go out. Otherwise, I'm going to have to tie the dog, and there's no way I want to do that. That's the last thing I want to do, tie my dog. And just last thing, just after your discussion, if there are any comments, please give us a chance to respond to your comments, because there might be some things that you would wonder how come we came to this idea that we can answer to you. Thank you very much.
Do we have any questions for the owner?
Are you planning on doing any walkway or anything out the front door? This just shows a front pad or porch, no access to the alley or to the front.
Walkway?
From the entrance.
Oh, yeah.
It
You
just doesn't show.
mean towards the sidewalk, right? Oh,
Or
yeah,
the
that will
alley,
be.
where it just doesn't
Yeah.
show, so you are
Yeah,
intending.
that's going to be I think that's going to be part of the landscaping.
Okay.
When we do the landscaping, we're going to do all the walkways and everything. Oh, definitely, they're going to have walkway.
Okay. And is it noted that whatever your coloring is, that you're going to be doing the front house also?
Yes, we're going to match the existing
But is
house.
that noted anywhere?
I don't know, but that's the idea. We're going to make sure that the
That's
existing...
the color, right?
Yes, existing and the new project are going to have the same color.
I had a question too, if are you finished?
That's okay, I'm done.
The existing house has tile on the roof, but do you know what type of tile that is?
It's S-type. That's why we want to do this one also S-type. It's not a barrel type. It's
Sure.
an S. I'm positive.
And are you going to be able to find that same profile to match the new one?
Yes, we're going to find the same type of S-type, and we're going to match it.
Okay.
Any other
And the
questions?
windows are fiberglass, which are paintable, right? You're going to paint it?
Yes, actually, we're going to try to buy that, whatever color we propose, so we don't even have to paint.
Okay.
They have that.
In fiberglass, they have more options than aluminum.
Okay. Great. That's it.
Thank you. We have no more cards for this project. Is there anyone else here to speak on this project? No? Okay. Then we'll close the session and discuss. Mr. Simonia, if you could get us started?
Sure. Well, you've been at it for some time. I think, as you indicated, you've been working on this for a few months, and I must say, the new layout and integration of the garage into the new detached unit is much better than before. And so, with the turnaround issue that you're bringing forward and Bureau of Traffic and all those restrictions that put forward on you, assuming that the location of the garage is the right location based on those comments, I believe by integrating the roof into the building, it's the right path to take. So I believe now, orientation-wise and integration-wise, it's working a lot better. It's not a detached unit like it used to be. And when I'm starting to really compare the old drawings with the new drawings, there's been a tremendous leap, and I could tell you've gone very, there's been a lot of discussions with staff. You could tell a lot has occurred. And so now I'd like to focus in on some of the details that are presented to us and to share my thoughts on some of these details. Staff has made some comments which I think are good comments, and I'd like to maybe add some more and to begin this discussion. I think if we look at the existing pictures of the house, you have some interesting details around the entry point. So you have a stucco house, and then you don't have square porches. You have a very curved sort of a piece, which is indicated here. When we look at the view from Glenwood, you have this interesting kind of a detail. I'm not sure if the cameras could get that, but I think if you start integrating that same detail into your entry piece, it'll really break up this square look that you have. So I believe that this entrance piece, which is really at the corner there, could start improving by integrating just some of the existing features of the building onto it. I believe that this layout and design is much more successful than what you have here. I think you've started to integrate the roof as it wraps around on the south elevation, and perhaps you could even consider just having a stucco flat kind of a curb above that roof instead of having this railing, because the railing really just doesn't belong there. If you're going to go with the railing route, you're going to have to really come up with more of an ornamental piece that's more in tune with it, but I think that would start working a lot better. The location of these windows are odd as well. You have the floor plan, so it's very easy to, line up this door with this hallway window. Assuming the hallway window stays where it is, you have complete freedom to line up the door underneath it because it's just a garage door. So I think that would help this elevation if there's some connection between the door and the window. And then we have this door over here on the side here, perhaps a trellis above it, which would provide some shade and protection over it, which is very good. So if it's raining, you walk out, you don't get wet right away. That could start softening up that piece in itself. And I believe the corbels are certainly a good addition. But overall, I think the location of it, the mass of it, and the scale of it, I don't have any issues with. I don't really remember there being a big issue about the two-story. It's a multi-zone property, and you're basically proposing 2 units on there. And so, as a detached unit, I personally don't think or don't believe that the massing and the bulk of the building is an issue. And so I think you've come a long way, and I commend you on all your work. And some of these minor adjustments, I think, could be easily accomplished to make this project just more successful, because it is a corner piece, and so it is quite visible from a lot of angles. And so I think with these minor adjustments, you'll be able to get a building that you'll enjoy that much more. Those are my thoughts.
Thank you. Mr. Giuliano, would you like to go next?
Sure. I think this project has been, I think judging from the original design, I think there's been quite a bit of improvement. So I'm very pleased with what I'm seeing here today, and I'm very happy to see the degree of sensitivity that the applicant and the designers have had to make this project work. I do agree with your site plan. I think the idea of maintaining the existing garage where it is to alleviate more hardscape and so on, I think that was a good move. And the way you've integrated within the building, I think, is quite nice. And I don't want to reiterate, I agree with your comments. I would have said the same thing. And I do agree with staff report as well, so I would make those recommendations as well. I've asked about the S-style because sometimes S-style could look a bit commercial. So if you can find one that matches what's there right now, because what's there right now is actually quite nice. You can't really tell that's an S-style, just the way it looks. So if you could find something that matches that, if you could look into that, one day come back, or as you monitor the project, make sure that whatever they pick is very close to what we have, because I can't really tell, from the picture there it says S-style, but it has to match what's there. What else? I had a comment about the fascia as well. I mean, since we're trying to match the existing, I would definitely pay attention to the fascia of the existing. Make sure that you're matching that as well. The windows and all that, we understand that you're going to do that. And, I'm hoping that the planning department, I'm sure that they'll keep an eye on that. I wanted to actually focus on one particular aspect of the house, which would be the entry. And I think generally I like the way the massing is worked out. I think given where it is and the fact that there's on the south side, there's already a 2-story unit there anyways, at least it appears to be a 2-story unit. I think the massing of this will complement that. I'm just wondering about the entry itself, as Mr. Simonian said, the arch and all that. The column is so small. When you plaster around that, I don't know how it's going to look. I think it might look a little flimsy. So I'm not convinced that that's really the best way to do the entry. Maybe there needs to be a heftier
Wood piece.
Yeah. Or, I was thinking you could even, I don't want to introduce columns, like a precast column, and then it takes up quite a bit of space. But you have to be really careful how you do that. Maybe this needs a trim on the arch. And I can't remember if the existing house has any kind of plaster reveals or anything like that, but something needs to happen there to make sure that doesn't look too flimsy. That's really all I want to say. I think most of the things that I was going to say have been covered already anyway, so as long as you're trying to match what's there and you're consistent with the existing house, I'm happy with what you've done. But again, I like to really emphasize the entryway, I think. We have no idea how you're going to deal with the ceiling when you come in. Maybe the ceiling and the column, that little corner piece, the way they're integrated, so when you're looking out from the street, you don't have an arch, and then a flat ceiling. Maybe this is some kind of a 2 arches on both sides that kind of meet and create some kind of a, sort of the equivalent of a drawing bolt, 2 bolts kind of meeting together. And there could be a light fixture or something in the middle that kind of will give it a little more detail. But I just want to make sure that you resolve that really to a degree that it will be substantial and not just a flimsy little column at the corner or post. I'm assuming you're going to plaster that column. Am I correct? The column and the entry that is going to be plastered just like the walls. It's not a wood column. That's all I have to say. I will support the project. I think we do have some recommendations, and I will support it with those recommendations.
Thank you. Ms. Palmer.
I think also that it's a much better job than the previous submittal, and I agree with staff's comments and the other members of the board, but I have one concern. I think this is the south elevation. It appears that the roof is shorter on one side than the other, and then as it wraps around, it's chopped off. And I think if maybe you can extend this roof line a little, and I'm not sure what's happening. It doesn't show on the elevation, but that particular, it doesn't appear to even have an overhang there. So if you can look at that and make it a little more balanced. I think that's my only comment.
I agree with the comments of my associates. I would just look at the windows one more time. When I look at the window schedule, it looks like you've got sliding and single hungs, or actually double hungs. I would look at some of those windows and say, those windows with the fiberglass window types will probably be better with casement windows, this type of architecture, and keep them all casements instead of a combination sliders and double hung. So I'd look at that one more time. And then I often am torn. Let me say that again. I'm often torn to just keep my mouth quiet, but I want to be helpful. So whether it's I always want to be helpful. I promise. When you look at the existing single-story garage, and you probably have very shallow foundations, and you have very inefficient opening right now in the garage, and when you look at current codes, a big expanses like that, you have prefabricated shear panels that you put into new construction. You have sides to allow for that. And if you don't have that, you have to come back in with pipe columns with a moment frame, with pads and grade beams, especially on garages because you have a big opening. You combine that with a double story because you're adding a garage. And when you look at that existing garage and the way it's probably built, you'll probably have a lot of engineering that's going to be very expensive to retain that garage. When you look at the existing foundations around the perimeter, they're also going to be very shallow because there would have been no reason years ago to deepen those foundations because they weren't required for a non-inhabitable garage. So to piggyback a new garage, you're going to have to either leave the existing foundation and put in pipe columns or major elements to carry that and suspend it so that you can put the second story on it. By the time you do that, there's a considerable amount of money. Keeping the garage in the same spot, so be it, but imagine that you're going to have to do a lot of engineering to be able to achieve that. A word to be thought about. The issue concerning access to the garage. I give you this only this thought to maybe think about it. And I'm often torn to just be quiet because our job is not to design it for you. But I'm getting older now. I would suggest if you got to do all this rework of the garage, which you're going to have to, consider having the garage come in this way, and now you create a new screen wall across here. This then becomes the backyard of this home. Oh, that's really nice to have a home with its backyard. You have a new driveway here, which achieves the turnaround that you need because now you're accessing it this way, and you can come out here with a little hammerhead and go out. And then you create a new backyard for this house and a new backyard for this house because you've got the backyard here for these people. You even got a door here, and then you got your garage here, especially if you're reworking the garage so much. Do whatever you want, but I would approve this project with the condition, the comments that are being there. Anyway, so there you go.
Thank you. My comments are similar. I think there's some, it's a vast improvement from what it was before. I think the massing of it, and square footage-wise, is very similar. You basically push the mass over the existing garage area, and so you pulled it off from the street and the alley. So the massing is a lot better there. I think there needs to be a little more attention paid to the entry area to make it a little bit nicer, something a little more special on that back unit. Because your front unit has a very nice entry piece to it, and we're not saying mimic it or anything like that, but a little more attention can be given to that. The one thing that is bothering me a little bit is the second floor is not sitting right. It's slightly kind of floating. It's not anchored to anything. There's some funny areas where, for example, in the west elevation, the second floor is sitting not on the top of the ridge of the bottom, but it's scooted over. So there's an area of the roof where it's just going to drain right into the wall, and you could cricket it and those kinds of things. But it's a new building. Why you shouldn't have to do that? I mean, there's no reason for it to be there. It could be 2 feet over and aligned to the center of that. There's no wall underneath it that's making it come up at that location. And then you have on the east side of it where you have sort of 1.5 feet, it looks like, overhanging the existing garage area, where you have plenty of space on the other side, to push it over and line it up. I mean, it's not sitting quite right. I mean, and those are things that you can adjust, and it's a floor plan issue. So, I mean, the new improved roof area, that's fine. That looks okay. Just little things like that, and on the floor plan is kind of bugging me. It's not quite worked out. So, I think that could be, adjusted and with staff to get that part of it approved. But those would be my comments. Do we have a motion we want to consider on this project, or? Okay,
I just need to ask,
discover it.
Are they going to be required to produce a common area plan and walkway type of drive?
I don't.
Yes,
Planting,
yes,
et cetera? Okay.
they would be.
What was presented to us was that the existing landscaping would be maintained, and that's why we did not require a landscape plan. If you'd like for that to be provided for plan check, that you can make that a requirement.
I would just want to see that, I mean, obviously, right now, there's no front walk, there's no development for the common area, and it's going to be all dirt, so I think to present one to planning would be...
Okay, so we'll make that a requirement.
Brought in with him. Would you like me to post this up?
Take a look at it before we make them. So we have a little walkway going on.
Basically, is it
There are things. That was the question. It just says comments. So you want to mention?
That's where the existing fence is. Yes.
Existing fence and gate arch.
I was actually looking through the history of the property and the permit in 2002 for that one.
So that's an existing non-conforming fence and gate. So now that we see the landscaping plan, we'll include a condition that a landscape plan provided by a professional is required, and it's required to meet the current drought-tolerant ordinance.
Okay. Maybe we could read back.
Yes, I was going to ask you to bear with me. Some of the comments that were made, because I couldn't see that well, I will probably need your help again to go over those. Mr. Simonian mentioned, I have mainly three major comments mentioned by you. One is replacing the railing with wall, if I got that right.
The stucco wall.
With stucco wall, exactly. And you mentioned something about lining up the door with the hallway. Would that be on the second floor?
That would be on the south side, but I think that's a very minor suggestion for them to take a look at. So I wouldn't even make
Just
that a
these two.
condition.
So that would be a suggestion.
Yeah.
Consideration.
Oh, I see. I see what you.
Yeah, just a consideration.
Okay, and then you also had comments regarding the features and the details of the proposed and the existing. You would rather see more detailed entryway and the arches of the entryway to match the existing and have more Spanish style details.
The entryway is a little bit dry right now, so it certainly could use some help. And I think they are going to work on that with the help of staff. Possible direction to take is to follow the existing details of the building next door. Or, as Mr. Aliana pointed out, to go a different direction, perhaps with some sort of a column and some other system. However, that is something that I believe needs to be worked out.
Okay. And that would they would be working with staff to go either way, one way or
We'll
another?
see which direction we're all going, but yeah, I'm comfortable with that.
Okay.
And then there was the trellis over the east elevation, over that side door.
Yeah, there was a recommendation that there's some treatment over the side door, be it a canopy or a trellis. Okay.
Consideration or a condition?
Condition, I think, will certainly help the house. You're going to need something when you walk out as protection over your door.
Okay, so there needs to be some revision to that area.
Okay.
I wonder whether we can kind of determine that right now, because when you look at, I'm talking about the entry. That way, there's a little bit easier for the planning. So right now, they're calling out this column to be 8 by 8, I guess. We tell them if they have to basically make this a little bigger so that they still get a nice entry, we tell them make sure that corner at least is a 12 by 12. Yeah, 12 by 12 should be okay. And then that means they just have to add a few more inches here to get this thing opened up a little bit. I think that would be okay. It just looks kind of flimsy. To have an 8 by 8 there. Sometimes by 12 will look a little bit better. Then we would ask them to make sure that they return the arch. And then they don't have to worry about the ceiling too much. It could be a nice, just flat ceiling. That's higher, obviously, than the top of the arch.
Okay.
I'd be okay with that if we just prescribe what
so
that
provide
column
a
should
12
be.
by 12 and increase the size of the entry porch to...
Well, yeah,
Because
they
the 12
should
by 12
increase
will
it.
take up space, obviously.
Yeah, make the opening bigger so that it allows for 12 by 12.
Okay.
The column and also the pilaster, because there's a pilaster here. Have a pilaster against the house. So that should match the corner. If you do a 12 by 12, that should be at least 12 inches by 12 inches as well.
Okay, so the pilaster should also match it. And then Mr. Alian also mentioned matching the fascia of the proposed with the new, with the existing. Look into the fascias and make sure they match.
Right.
Correct?
Can we go back to the entry there?
Correct, yes, of course.
I just want to make sure, and maybe just the drawing, but it appears that the arches are different configuration. One looks like a half circle, and the other looks like it's flatter. That should both be
Right.
the same since they're next to each
I would
other.
agree, yeah, I would agree.
from
So
making
So they should be the same radius, because they're slightly different
it may be the drawing.
widths. That's resulted in that, but they should be the same radius.
And Mr. Allen also mentioned matching the S-tile, if they can find the type of S-tile that's already on the existing house, to match that, because it's hard to tell it's an S-tile.
Yeah, well, we'll need to verify what's on the existing house in front, and it will likely be challenging to exactly match, but we'll work with the applicant to match as close as possible.
Well, whatever is on the material board, by the way, apparently that's what they're proposing, and I don't know if that is to the board's satisfaction.
I'm sorry, we can't have cross communication.
I'm being told that that's the picture of the existing roof.
Oh, it is.
So we'll still work with the applicant to make certain that there's a as close as possible match.
Anything about the windows?
Let them continue, I'm sure it's in there.
Come again?
No, go ahead.
Yes,
Continue.
and Ms. Palmer also had a comment regarding the south elevation and extending the roof. Would that be the same roof that staff had recommended for
No,
wrapping around the...
it's right here. These roof lines don't match, so this is cut off here.
Yeah, that was embedded in the report. I think we understand.
Is that what
Yeah.
you're referring to?
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Now that I see the elevation, makes more sense. Thank you. Mr. Insua had a suggestion regarding the windows and perhaps using a casement window. Would that be, were you going towards recommend, that being a recommendation or a condition?
When you look at the upper windows, they appear to be casement type. And if that is casement type for this, which is consistent with this type of architecture, I would suggest that the other windows be of casement type too.
So are we suggestion or should, I mean, I would think it should be a requirement because it's kind of a critical thing.
Okay.
I'm glad you
And-
brought it up because I think it's important to keep the windows consistent.
Staff also had concern because the windows are not only different operations, but different sizes. So would that also be a requirement to review and revise the size and placement of the windows?
The proportions for sure.
Yeah. Very good.
Right, because a casement is going to have a different proportion than a slider. They're going to be each pane is going to be
More vertical.
more vertical and narrow because you're not trying to slide it.
Right, particularly the windows on what I believe is the south elevation, it's marked as rear elevation, look proportionally much smaller than the windows on all the other elevations. So we'll work, and there was also a comment that especially on the second floor, they're not really located properly on the elevation. So we've also noticed that, and we'll work with the applicant on that
These are
piece.
bathroom, one is a bathroom door, the other one is a stair door, so when you're saying they're different, they should be different size anyway, you're saying they're different.
They should be different, but they should fit. They look like they belong to a different house because they're a different proportion.
Plus, it looks like it's a casement rather.
Right.
Right.
A single hung or double hung rather than a casement.
One casement.
That's right. Right. So using the same module all around the house, even if the windows are different sizes.
Right, right. I think that's a good point.
Should we also reference that we're looking at the sort of the more yellowish elevation that was just proposed today?
That's a good point, because it could get confusing on what we're referring to.
The yellow ochre or something like that.
There are other changes beside the color.
The one with the star on it. Okay. That's a good point.
And as far as the column at the entry is concerned, the 12 by 12, I would say that make that for me, that should be a minimum, and they can make it bigger if they want.
Okay, so a minimum of 12 by 12, okay?
Just enough to keep it more hefty.
All right, and then Mr. Insa also suggested, which was a consideration for moving the driveway.
Nope, just my
Suggestion.
my oral thought.
You want it to be noted as a suggestion?
No.
No.
I think that, well, no.
Because we've had just some sidebar discussion and to see if that were a new garage, it would have to meet current code requirements. So we would have to verify the setback and that may
Garage size and
the garage size and so forth. So
It's just going to be difficult to retain that same garage, even if you sister in a new foundation or if you put in some new walls inside. It's an old garage, small footings, add a second story to it, shear issues, opening issues, good luck.
So we also had a sense that might be an issue later on in the process. So if you'd like, we can note that potential reorientation, so that could be considered in a more proactive way.
Whatever you suggest.
Once you reorient the door, wouldn't that become a new garage?
If you have to reconstruct the garage,
It has to
it's
be-
a new garage and it will have to meet current requirements. So is there agreement about the potential reorientation if it is a new garage?
I just think, if they left the garage exactly it is right now, it will be very difficult to do what they want to do with the garage as it exists today.
Yes.
If that becomes an issue or a problem, and they have to explore redoing that garage, and you have to redo it anyway for those issues, perhaps this might be another way of looking at it.
Okay, so there's agreement that a reorientation of the garage could be considered
Well, what I'm hearing could be considered if this becomes impossible.
if it's a brand new garage.
In other words, what I'm understanding is if you go through the structural process, and if it's very difficult or costly for you to achieve what you want to do, you could consider relocating it.
Or keeping it in the same spot.
And just orientation is
access
from
of
the south.
door, yeah. And then now you create one house that has its own backyard, and then another house that has its own backyard with a large driveway. But those are pretty fun, too, because then you got a basketball court and all that other stuff. But you really create two separate homes, and you give the new home a backyard where it now doesn't. You open up that back door off the kitchen, I think, and you're in somebody else's driveway. So.
Okay, and I just wanted there to be a recognition that that elevation off Spazier would then need to be redesigned, because now
And that's my concern. I think Mr. Insu's point is a great point. So if you were starting from scratch, that's what you would do, because you would just increase the value of that property tremendously. You'd have two private backyards. That's the right approach. But you've come so far, you've done so much effort's been put into it, and that's what I'm trying, and I think that's what Mr. Insu is saying as well, is he doesn't want to make you start over again. But if you want to do that, that's really the correct approach to take. But if it's going to reorient everything, then I think that's a big task to ask. That's why it's a consideration.
You may find that you may get approved in design review and planning, but when you then go to building and safety and you go, okay, we want to take this existing garage, which I don't know the size of it, but it may not be the appropriate size for today's.
it's small. The existing is smaller than would be required by code.
Okay, so then we got a garage that's smaller than you need, and we're going to keep it exactly the way it is. You got this big opening in the front that's not going to be able to carry the dead load of the second story above. It does not, even today, you couldn't have a garage with that kind of opening and no shear in the front. So you got to satisfy the dead load, then you got to satisfy the moment. You don't have any of those side panels here. It's going to be a moment frame, new footings with a grade beam and a steel beam and two pipe columns, just to carry the shear.
Yeah, the reason that we're addressing this is because likely that will be an issue during the plan check process, and if we have a sense of the board that yes, it's preferable to reorient the garage once all that work needs to be done, and that's possible, we could, the applicant, the owner is here, they've heard you, we can work with them to do that, and if that would be preferable to them, we wouldn't have to take them back to the board to do something you've already stated you'd like to see, because it's a site planning, elevation change. So we just wanted to verify that the sense of the board is that should that in all likelihood occur, that's what you'd prefer to see. So it's not a condition, but it's a recommendation, and that gives us some information as we move forward with the project.
So let's say, for example, worst-case scenario, that happens, and you decide to do what we think could be a solution. We don't need to see it anymore.
That's what we want to clarify.
Love that idea.
Okay.
So that way, they can move and progress quickly
Great.
forward.
But I
Thank
would
you
say
very
it's
much
hard
for that
to do what you're saying,
clarification.
Because you're walking a slim line of, of that 50% rule, because once you start messing with the opening of that and what you have to do to sort of beef it up to be able to put a second story and the tile roof on top of that, you're losing that wall. You're going to have to rebuild that whole wall, which means that you're losing the roof and that wall, which puts you in a place where you're really close to that 50% rule. So that's what he's warning you about. So
There's some, we really want you to be successful. The last thing we want is, I know, he said, hey, we did building and safety and planning, and goodness, we've got another year to try to figure out how to solve building and safety issues. So this hopefully gives you, if there is that path, you don't need to see us anymore. As much as I'm sure you enjoy our lovely faces, we don't want you to have to see us anymore.
Okay.
do you have any more?
I do have a couple of comments made by Mr. Yu regarding the west elevation and also the placement of the second story overall.
Right.
The comment was that it sort of flows.
Recommendations. It's their floor plan. I think it would be better if they did it, but,
Okay. So it would be redesigning the second floor.
No, just, they can work with staff to make sure the plan,
Just reoriented, or it's not placed in,
like this,
right.
and
So for
they can get away from, having it overhang the white.
some relatively small design issues by making some adjustments to the second floor.
Okay, and
Here, there were supposed to be corbels, but I don't see corbels here.
Right.
So that's something that I think is in the staff report.
And that you'd like to maintain as a condition.
Sure, yeah. I like the comment that you made about the corbel. I think it's valid, so.
And also, even though we do have a landscape plan, it should include, during the plan check process, that it should include the common outdoor space layout and how it's going to be used by both units.
To be like this.
Okay, that with the conditions put forward by the staff,
Would you like us to review the recommended conditions in the report? Or, because
It's okay.
No, I think
Okay.
we've gone through it.
we've gone
They're
through...
also included.
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, those are included, right.
okay, with that, is there a motion?
Well, then I'd like to move that we approve the project with the staff report recommendation and the additional recommendations that we made.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion made by Mr. Aliano and second by Mr. Simonian. This will be a roll call. Mr. Aliano?
Yes.
Ms. Palmer? Mr. Insua?
Yes.
Mr. Simonian?
Yes.
Chairman Yu?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. So let's go to our second case, 1731 West Glendale Boulevard. Sir Don, you ready?
Thank you, yes. Good evening, Chairman Yu and members of the board. The next item before you is a proposal to establish a uniform sign program for a newly completed two-story commercial building located at 1731 West Glendale Boulevard. The subject lot is a corner property and is surrounded by both commercial and residential developments. The project is being submitted under case number 1 PDR 2009-051. The site planning and design of the building was approved by this board on November 11, 2006, under case number 1 PDR 2006-178-A. The building features a contemporary design with an extensive use of glass and smooth plaster. It has clean and simple lines. The building is integrated with a 3-foot wide raceway above the ground floor where most of the signs will be installed. The sign will be installed as not to project above or below this raceway. 2 other signs will be installed on the metal grille for the tenant on the second level. However, at this point, not all tenants have been identified by this project. A total of 9 signs are proposed, 7 on the ground floor and 2 on the second level. The signs are internally illuminated channel letters and will be constructed using plexiglass for the sign faces and aluminum returns. The signs are between 4 to 5 inches deep, and as proposed, these signs will either be illuminated by neon tubing or LED modules. The applicant is proposing 3 variations of channel letter signs. 1, single illuminated channel letters with neon tubing. 2, single illuminated channel letter sign with LED modules. And 3, double illuminated channel letter signs with neon. Example of these sign types are located on the board behind you. I've put out 3 copies, so if you would like to review them, what they are and the differences between them. Also, the applicant can further explain the differences between the options. According to the proposed sign program, all tenants will be allowed the flexibility to use any color and font type. Logos would also be permitted when integral to the signs. While the building and signs may exist as different elements, one should complement the other. And given the building's simple and clean design, placing some limitation on the color palette and font styles would be mutually beneficial. Similarly, the size of the logos, as staff suggests, should be limited to 2 feet by 2 feet in order to maintain balance and proportionality to the signs and the raceway. The Urban Design Guidelines for Commercial Zone discusses the relevancy of signs and their design on their proposed buildings. All signs should be designed to enhance the architectural character of the buildings, while a variety of signs materials are encouraged. Reflective or bright colors should be avoided. Furthermore, typefaces should be selected based on their simplicity, clarity, and architectural appropriateness. In the case of a sign program, it should be compatible with its surroundings and not obstructing other competing signs, detracting from architectural features of the neighborhoods, or creating visual clutter. Additionally, a sign program should coordinate with the building's architecture by way of internally consistent materials, colors, and textures. As proposed, the building and sign designs appear to reflect similar design aesthetics, and the sign location and sizes appear proportional to the scale of the building and the overall and the facades. Based on the above discussions and the level of consistency with the Urban Design Guideline for Commercial Zones, staff recommends approval of the proposed sign programs with conditions. And these conditions are: 1, all signs should be located and centered in the identified sign areas. Concerning condition number 2, this was placed erroneously by staff, so I would like to strike that out. Which read, by the way, condition number 2 reads, sign areas that are not located above leasable tenant spaces or units, for example, above garage entrances and common areas, are prohibited and shall be removed. So that condition will be removed. 3, cabinet signs, foam signs, and painted signs should not be used. 4, all signs and logos on the ground floor should not project above and below the custom built-in raceway. 5, all signs are subject to the requirements of the sign ordinance. 6, all signs are subject to design, materials, method of constructions, and illumination as specified in the design proposal packet contained in the packet delivered to you. And I would also like to add, or as modified by the Design Review Board, to that condition. 7, a limited color and font selection should be used. A color palette and font style should be provided, and the size of any proposed logo should be limited to 2 feet by 2 feet. And last, modifications that are deemed substantial require an amendment of the established sign program before the Design Review Board. That concludes my presentation.
Did you say something about number 3?
Number 2, that condition is to be removed because it was placed erroneously by staff.
Rather, does that conclude your presentation?
Yes.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from staff?
I have, well, I guess when is somebody coming up to present?
Yeah, we have one card.
The sign designer as well as the architects who designed the buildings are here to answer any questions you may have.
No more technical questions, I guess. Okay. Thank you. We have one card. Rander Sarkeesian. Would you like to?
I'd like to be the second.
Okay. I only have one card, so.
I'll come up to you guys.
I have questions.
Okay, we have some questions, so if you could come up, state your name and address for the record, and fill out a card afterwards for me. Thank you.
My name is Vartanya Pujan. My office is located at 4635 Alger Street in Los Angeles.
Yeah, I had a question. On this, some of these details. Okay. Just trying to understand. It's not a criticism. You have it's this drawing right here. Do you have it in front of you?
Yeah, I'm looking at it.
There are two profiles there. The one on the left says LED channel letters on raceway attachment method, first floor, and then the other one says neon. So the LED, it looks like the raceway is flush with the plaster, or not the plaster, but the face of the building.
Yeah.
And then on the neon, you have about 1.5 inch projection. Is that because the raceway has to be bigger for the neon, or?
Well, essentially, when we first started this project, when these plans were drawn up, it was about 8 months ago. And since then, the contractor has actually alleviated this problem. What it is, when you use neon, you have to basically make your raceways to fit the transformers. Now, the transformers are 6 inches thick, 12 inches long, and 8 inches high. So you have to fit it in there somehow. That's why if you look at the projection of that raceway right there, it's 6 inches.
Right.
So that's the only way we could put that transformer in there. But the contractor actually made us access holes in the rear wall. So we're going to actually take out those transformers,
Put them
this rear
somewhere
wall,
else.
and thin out this raceway and make it flush just like the LEDs.
So the raceway will be flush with the building.
Exactly.
Great. Excellent. And then when you say the double illuminated, this is a double illuminated that you show in this example. So
Yeah,
you
King
have-
Furniture, if you look at Zanku Chicken,
Yeah.
I think that's in there as well. That's
So
double illuminated.
it's projector plus an illuminate. It's illuminated
Yeah, it's
on
from
the
the front,
face.
from the back. Actually, rather, that's my letter.
Oh, I'm sorry. Here you go.
So that's neon as opposed to LED?
Which is this a neon or an LED? Oh, there.
That's neon right there.
That's neon.
So neon. Which is the neon? This the big one? Is the neon?
They're all actually neon. If you look on the band on top,
Talking to the mic. Thanks.
if you look at the teal band on top, that's neon. The white lighting inside the word King, that's neon. And underneath it, the word Furniture has a double line band.
I see it. Right.
Yeah.
Very nice. It looks really great.
Yeah, we did that
Can we
job
see- yeah.
a while back.
That's something for us to look at.
Yeah, this is an example of like your standard channel letter. You know, basically it's aluminum return, aluminum backing, plastic face, and trim capping. You know, the inside of it, you can see it's just neon, fairly simple. As far as the double illumination is concerned, the only difference really is the backing plate. As opposed to putting like anodized aluminum in the back, we just put a piece of clear Lexan, and we space it off 1.5 inches away from the wall.
So you get the glow.
Gives it the halo. That's it. We just want to go with really effective, high-impact signs, you know, easy to build, affordable, that look good.
And so what does the applicant prefer, the LED or the neon?
I think cost is going to be a little bit of a concern, so I think we're going to go with the LEDs.
LED is the preference. And
But it shouldn't change the aesthetic of the letters. I mean, everything
No,
is the same.
no,
It's just
the
lighting.
only difference is long-term lighting of it. LEDs tend to diminish a little bit throughout the years. They lose 7% of lighting every year. That's the only difference. LEDs, I mean neons, they stay bright as they were from the day you put them until the day they burn out on you. But LEDs just diminish slowly.
there are some conditions that staff is stating specifically number 7 and 8, which is going to affect your leasing of this building. Number 7 is limited color and font selection should be used. And number 8, condition number 8 is a color palette and font style should be provided. So how does the applicant feel about conditions 7 and 8? Has there been any discussions about that, or have you guys discussed that with your leasing agents?
As far as leasing is concerned, I'm not too familiar with that. I mean, we have the owner and the architect here. They might be able to answer that.
So that's a question for them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just making the signs.
I see.
Any other questions for him?
Thank you.
If you could fill out that card for me.
Sure.
Thanks. Mr. Sarkeesian, would you like to come up? Name and address for the record, please.
Good afternoon, Chairman Yu and members of the board. My name is Harander Sarkeesian, practicing architect in Glendale, 520 East Glen Oaks Boulevard. I've just moved, so I have to learn my change of address after 22 years. I'm the architect for the building, and I find myself, of course, redundant because all the devices were designed in the building from day one, and they were part of my original submission to the design review board. They were on the drawing. I think that's a 3D from us, I do believe, at the bottom. And even the signs were on it the day one, and they continue being. There are some minor occurrences have happened during the construction of the building, and but basically I would say 98% of what was conceived is there. I designed the signboard. The signboard is on an angle. It works with the building on an opposite way and two directions. That was to carry. And the two owners of the building are occupying the two spaces that you are up above. On the left-hand side, it's a gallery, and as an architect, I welcome the fact that there would be an art gallery in Glendale, which is something that we're missing in the city, which is a museum and art galleries and such things. And the corner building, and the building was designed to work for that purpose, to be a dominant building in the corner because it's a travel agent, and that's really what I call like Le Corbusier. It's a machine to do the job, and the job was to pronounce itself at the corner, and it does that. And the signage was always meant to go in there. So everything is as we foresaw it. By the way, there is no plaster on the building for the staff's information. It's all concrete. It was supposed to be very raw, state of California quality highway concrete, but unfortunately in the pouring process they defeated that, and then it had to be covered with something to make it look. But I meant to have the raw highway quality concrete elements in there, but we learn that all our desires as architects do not materialize on projects.
And so as far as the conditions are concerned, as the architect, are you representing the client? Have you had a chance to look over the conditions, specifically on 7 and 8?
I would say I would plead with the board not to implement those two conditions, because I think it's a commercial building. We need some life in the city. The fact that somebody may have a preference for a violet color sign following this, I don't think that defeats the building. The building's strong enough to stand, and I would plead with you to allow. There's only a few signs on this building. Is not going to be a clutter. It's all located in the band. It's all well placed, and I would plead that you allow the owner to have that flexibility of having a tenant who wants a certain color that is not in the palette.
What about number 9, the size of the logo?
The size of the logo is fine.
2 by 2.
Actually, that was a suggestion, and staff brought in when I presented the original signage, which was, by the way, on my package. I had color, material, font, almost all the definitions in the design review package. I mean, I find this hearing redundant. However, I think the staff was clever, so to speak, informed enough to tell me that some people want logos, and you should allow for that. And I think that's a welcome sign. And 2 foot by 2 foot should be enough.
Okay. Any other questions for?
So 7 and 8 are the ones. right? 7 and 8 is about
These are the
font.
ones that popped out
Right.
in my review.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll close session and let's talk about it. Would you like to get us started, Mr. Leano?
Moi? Okay. Yeah, I'm just reviewing the conditions here because the sign business these days is so sophisticated. It's pretty amazing the kind of things that you can do. So I have no doubt that these signs will look great. And the building, has a sort of gray, silvery look. So a little bit of color would actually be quite nice, just sort of to give it. And I think I'm assuming that's the original intent. And I also think that the placement of the signs, because oftentimes we get designs for buildings, but the signage is not thought out. But this was always thought out. There's a band already on the building that was meant to be for the sign, so that's the right place to have it. And the fact that the raceway is flush with the building, and all you're seeing is the plate of this raceway, which is a background for the signs. I think that works for me. I don't have any concerns about that. As far as the conditions, I think the conditions are good conditions. If 7 and I think we're talking primarily about 7 and 8, right? The ones that are more controversial. I think the intent of those was just so that it doesn't get out of hand. I think that's all that was meant to do. And as Mr. Sarkisian said, there really aren't that many signs anyway, so perhaps it might not be an issue. So I would like to debate those two conditions a little bit longer to see amongst ourselves, to see if those need to stay there or whether they could be reworded, and then we'll leave it at the discretion of the plan department to make sure that whatever that being, it's not out of hand. But I'm not too concerned. I think it's going to be quite nice. So, anyway, that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you.
I agree. I think the building color is the dark color, and the fact that they have the band, they are restricted by the size of the signs. It has to fit within the band, so to add a little color, and if somebody wants a different font style, I think it's going to be legible just because of the background of the building, so I think that could be flexible. But I agree with the other conditions that staff have.
Which other condition? All the conditions?
All the conditions,
Except 7 and 8.
except at 7, 8.
7 and 8, yeah, those are the ones that are a little more
Latitude there,
controversial.
but not to go beyond the band, stay within the confines of that,
Right.
and whatever the width that they're allowed.
Thank you.
I concur.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's pretty clear that, there's a lot of thought that's gone into this from the beginning, and, it looks pretty thought out in the sense that, it makes sense, and I think the conditions that staff put in also make a lot of sense, and I don't have anything to add to it. I'm okay with what was proposed.
So are we striking 7 and 8 then?
Yeah, I think that's the...
Okay, it's probably not necessary. I think the intention is good, but given what we see here, it may not be necessary to be so restrictive. Okay.
And condition number 2 was already removed by staff.
Right.
I'd like to make a motion.
Actually, Mr. Insua, excuse me. Before a motion is made, I'd like to make another correction to number 10, that any modification to an approved sign program shall require a new sign program, not an amendment.
Okay, enough.
I've been talking to an attorney, his word shall.
And then another one of those on item 3, shall rather than should. And forgive me for asking, you've probably been clear, but condition 2 is or is not included?
It's not included.
It was included erroneously by staff.
Okay, so
I would like to make a motion to include, as submitted, with the conditions 1, 3, but 3 having the word shall instead of should, 4, 5, 6, and 10, with 10 having the change of the word shall be inserted instead of an amendment.
And I think 9 also.
Oh, darn it, I thought I got them all. 9.
But for the benefit of the applicant and owner and for the board, we really do appreciate the thoroughness of this particular application. The design of the building is very good, one of the better ones that we see built in the city. We're very happy about that. We were very pleased with the completeness of the proposal, as is with always this applicant. Often we will include conditions that are included as part of the proposal so that it goes on record for the future, because often we won't be dealing with you anymore. We'll be dealing with numerous tenants, so it's useful to have it in the file. So we thank you very, very much for being part of the process.
And I'm sorry to interrupt again, but as I stated in my presentation, the applicant is proposing 3 different variations: single illuminated with neon tubing, single illuminated with LED, and double illuminated with neon. Did the board had any preference in terms of the type?
Which one?
Of channel letters?
What was the question?
No, the 3 different types that they're proposing, if we have a preference for one, do we want to choose it, or do we want to leave it up to them?
As reflected in the photographs that I can.
I think an example of the professional variety, as indicated, for example, on the King's Furniture, where they did have that kind of flexibility,
Okay.
That's very nice.
it's very creative.
That would be
And I
a
think that's what we want to do, continue to create a palette, not be restrictive, but allow creativeness. I think this building goes in that direction.
okay. That would be a double illuminated channel letter with neon then,
Well, they want to use LED.
or LED. Okay, but
Oh, okay. Great.
Are you saying
was
that
that-
you want to let them choose from those 3, that all 3 would be
all
acceptable?
3 would be
They can
acceptable.
choose.
Okay.
I think so.
Okay. All right. Okay, there was a motion by Mr. Insua
I'll second that.
and a second by Ms. Palmer. This would be roll call. Ms. Palmer,
Yes.
Mr. Simonian,
Yes.
Mr. Insua,
Yes.
Mr. Eliano,
Yes.
and Chairman Yu.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we have 2 sets of minutes to approve this evening, October 29th and November 12th.
We started in one
Yeah.
place.
All right.
So this was the other.
Do you have anything to say before?
No, we're done. Move on.
We're not quite done yet.
No, I know. He was asking because
Oh,
I
man.
didn't get to speak on the last one. He said, "Do you have anything
I
to say?"
skipped
I said, "No, we're done."
Yeah.
Good night.
Thank you.
Which minutes are you on?
Let's start with October 29th.
I have a question on item 10.
Sure, I wasn't at that meeting, but we'll try to help you.
The other members will remember. No, number 10 says the exterior of the planter walls may also be clad in the same heavy sheet metal used for the overhang fascias. Did we say that?
Which part of it?
Number
We
10,
weren't
the last
here,
sentence.
so it was you 3.
Oh.
Consider pouring in place concrete or similar material for the planter walls. Is that the one?
Exterior of the planter walls may also be clad in the same heavy sheet metal material. I thought we talked about them being concrete.
I don't remember that
It says may, maybe that was a,
one. Should. Shall.
Yeah, there was an option, I thought.
okay, I just wasn't sure.
Yeah, I
Fine, we don't need to change it.
okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
No? Should we move to approve that?
I'll move to approve the minutes as shown.
Second?
Second.
A motion was made to approve the minutes of October 29th. This will be a roll call. Mrs. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Eliano?
Yes.
Mr. Insua?
I was not here.
Absent.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Mr. Simonian?
I was not here either.
Absent. And Mr. Yu?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So we have the minutes of, what's the date on there?
October 29th?
Yes.
November 12th.
And everyone was here, so.
Yes, I have a question.
All right.
In the adjournment, it says we were moved to adjourn at 6:30. That's wishful thinking. It was more like 9:30.
A motion is made at 9:20 to adjourn the meeting.
I've got 6:30.
Oh, this one says
November
9:20.
12th?
November 12th?
Yeah. Did I say 6:30?
Not that way.
It threw her off for a second. You're like, what?
Yeah, it's interesting. You're special.
Well, the one that we're.
Well,
It says 9:20 on here.
says,
It's 6:30.
Okay, so 9:20 is more accurate, right? So
well,
that's the one we're
6:30 is October 29th.
No, I'm looking at November 12th.
But look at the
You
top
are
header.
looking at-
Look at the top header.
Maybe her
Maybe I'm
last
special,
page
I just had it.
ended up with October last page.
That could be.
No.
No,
It's funny.
they're in different
Her-
places.
Her top page says
November
November 12th.
This is mine?
You're special. Special.
Thank you.
All right, well, it was 9:20 apparently.
Okay.
You lived the next 3 hours.
Okay, well, the one we're officially signing is 9:20, so we're good
Okay.
then.
Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, a motion was made to approve the minutes of November 12th. Roll call. Mr. Aliano?
Yes.
Mr. Simonian?
Yes.
Ms. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Insua? And Mr. Yu?
Yes.
I don't have anything else to say this evening.
Neither do I.
I moved to adjourn.
Adjourned.
Welcome to Look Ahead for the week of November 30th. Let's see what's happening in our city these next few days. A schedule of city meetings with live air and replay times can be found on GTV6's website, www.glendale.tv, and on the bulletin board airing daily on GTV6. Please be aware that some of these meetings may be canceled or postponed after the original posting. If you're in doubt, call the department responsible for the meeting. Now for what's coming up. There are no meetings scheduled for Monday, November 30th. On Tuesday, December 1st, the Housing Authority and the Redevelopment Agency will meet consecutively, beginning at 2:30 p.m. in City Council chambers. At or about this same time, there will be a joint meeting of the City Council and the Redevelopment Agency to discuss the proposed development of the Hyatt Place Glendale. The regular meeting of the City Council will begin at 6 p.m. Details about matters pertaining to the Housing Authority are available at 818-548-2060. The number of the Redevelopment Agency is 818-548-2005. For City Council business, call 818-548-4844. The Zoning Administrator will meet on Wednesday, December 2nd at 9:30 a.m. in Room 105 of the Municipal Services Building. More information is available at 818-548-2140. Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Commission will meet that afternoon at 3 p.m. in City Council chambers. Call 818-548-2000 if you wish to know more about this meeting. Finally, the Planning Commission will meet at 5 p.m. in Room 105 of the Municipal Services Building. The information number is 818-548-2140. The Committee for a Clean and Beautiful Glendale will meet on Thursday, December 3rd at 8:30 a.m. in Room 105 of the Municipal Services Building. Details are available at 818-548-3700. Design Review Board number 1 will meet at 5 p.m. in Room 105 of the Municipal Services Building. Call 818-548-2140 if you need more information on DRB. There are no meetings scheduled for Friday, December 4th. We'll be right back after these public service announcements.
The winter holidays are upon us, and the sights and sounds of the season are all over Glendale. To have the outside of your home or a neighbor's home nominated for a Winter Holiday Spirit Award, please call me, Jakeson Webb, at Neighborhood Services. The number there is 818-551-6933. Nominations may also be made by emailing jwebb@ci.glendale.ca.us. Get out your holiday decorations and decorate today.
California is in a severe water shortage. Water conservation is now mandatory. Residents of Glendale, Burbank, and Pasadena can only water their landscapes 3 times a week, on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. As a reminder, water only after 6 p.m. and before 9 a.m. Find what else you can do to conserve more water by visiting www.glendalewaterandpower.com.
Medicine flushed down the drain can end up in your local creeks, bays, and the ocean. So while medicine is good for what ails you, it's important to dispose of leftover medication properly so it doesn't hurt the environment. Please bring all unused medicine to the Glendale Environmental Management Center at 780 Flowers Street. Visit www.glendalepublicworks.com or call 548-3900 for more information. Welcome back. The Friends of the Library are hosting another Authors Evening on Tuesday, December 1st at 7 p.m. in the Central Library Auditorium. Best-selling author Vincent Bugliosi will discuss his books and answer questions. He is the author of the book Helter Skelter, the largest-selling true crime book in publishing history. Among his most recent books is Reclaiming History, about the 1963 assassination of President John Kennedy. If you would like more information about this free discussion, call 818-548-2042. The city's annual holiday tree lighting takes place Wednesday, December 2nd in Perkins Plaza behind City Hall. The event begins at 7 p.m. and features hot chocolate and a special visit from Santa Claus. Warm clothing and comfortable shoes are suggested. In case of rain, the event will be canceled. Call 818-548-2792 if the weather is doubtful. There are lots of exciting holiday activities coming up for the entire family. On December 4th, 5th, and 6th, the Casa Adobe de San Rafael, located at 1330 Dorothy Drive, will host its annual Open House and Fiesta de las Luminarias. The Open House and Luminarias will take place Friday and Saturday from 5 to 8 p.m. On Saturday, a piñata party for the kids will happen between 2 and 4 p.m. And on Sunday, the Open House will be from 1 to 3 p.m. Admission to this favorite Glendale holiday tradition is free. If you have questions, call 818-395-1618. Additional holiday events are also happening Saturday, December 5th. Spar Heights Community Center and the Adult Recreation Center are offering an excursion to the Tamale Festival and holiday shopping at the Cabazon outlets that will take place from 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. There is still space available to join this outing. However, if you are interested, you must register in person at either the ARC or SPAR by Thursday, December 3rd. More details about this excursion are available at 818-548-3775 or 818-548-2188. Santa Claus will visit Maple Park from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Carnival games, crafts, and treats will highlight the festivities, and pictures with Santa are available for a nominal fee. Admission is free. More details are available at 818-548-3785. And the Adams Square Merchants Association is sponsoring a Christmas carnival from noon to 5 p.m. in the 1100 block of Park Avenue at Adams Street. The event features a tree lighting, kiddie rides, and a bouncer. Santa will arrive at 2 p.m. on his own Harley Davidson. Bring your camera to take photos. The Adams Square Connection Library branch will be open for special holiday crafts. Call 818-247-2909 if you have questions about this event. And finally, on the evening of the 5th, the 33rd Annual Montrose Christmas Parade kicks off at 6 p.m. along Honolulu Boulevard. Get there early to find a good location from which to enjoy this wonderful holiday tradition. More information is available at www.montrosechristmasparade.com or by calling 818-259-5915. The annual holiday decorating program is now underway, sponsored by Neighborhood Services and the Committee for a Clean and Beautiful Glendale. This program recognizes residents and business owners who help make their neighborhoods look special with lights and festive decorations during the holiday season. To nominate a property, contact Jakeson Webb at 818-551-6933 or by email at jwebb@ci.glendale.ca.us. That's it for this time. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Funding for this program was made possible by Lexus of Glendale, the Committee for a Clean and Beautiful Glendale. Coming up on this episode of NSTV, what happened during this year's Great American Cleanup?
Join us for a tropical evening under the stars.
Who's the latest GEM Property Maintenance Award recipient?
Which NSTV co-host is leaving the show forever? Find out the answers to these questions and more on a brand new NSTV right now.
NSTV. The Junior Ambassadors.
NSTV.
The Adopt a Block program.
City of Glendale.
Code Enforcement Minute.
GEM Awards.
Neighborhood Services TV.
Hi there, Joel City. I'm Noreen Benjaminson.
And I'm Sandra Rodriguez. Welcome to NSTV, your inside look at the programs and projects sponsored by the City of Glendale Neighborhood Services Division, the Committee for a Clean and Beautiful Glendale, Lexus of Glendale, and other community partners.
In this summertime episode of NSTV, you will see some of our dedicated volunteers and community members demonstrating how to make Glendale shine in 2009.
We also invite you to see the tasty surprises and sought-after auction items at our annual Summer Night on the Plaza.
First things first, let's take a look at the variety of cleanup and beautification projects our community volunteers worked on during the 21st Annual Great American Cleanup.
Noreen had the opportunity to be one of our correspondents during the event, along with our always special guest correspondent, Elena Bobolian.
Hi, I'm Noreen Benjaminson.
And I'm Elena Bobolian on special assignment for NSTV. Today we're reporting to you from the 21st Annual Great American Cleanup.
Hundreds of volunteers are expected to join us today to help clean up the city of Glendale. Over 3 million people throughout the country are volunteering in their own hometowns in 17,000 different communities and at 30,000 different events taking place all throughout the country. At the end of the Great American Cleanup, approximately 7 million volunteer hours will have gone into beautifying parks and recreation areas, cleaning seashores and waterways, handling recycling collections, picking up litter, planting trees and flowers, and conducting educational programs and litter-free events.
Noreen and I will take you out to some of the beautification projects that are planned for today. Now let's join the rest of the crowd because the rally is about to begin.
Welcome you here this morning, and thank you so very, very much for being civic-minded volunteers to come and pick up litter, pull weeds, to make our community the wonderful place it is in which to live.
This community remains graffiti-free, and that's because of your efforts, not just to be out here to paint out the graffiti, but to have an expectation that the community will be graffiti-free and will be the prettiest city in Southern California. We couldn't do this not only without you as volunteers, but without the sponsors that really help us pay for it. The paint
So how do you like volunteering for the Great American Cleanup?
It's very fun.
I like it. It's a little bit hard. I'm going to be sore tomorrow, but the kids are having a good time and they feel like they're doing
Other parent or other people out there who've never been to a Great American Cleanup before?
I think it's important for them to take some time to help out and try to make their community a little bit better, even if it's for just a few hours.
I would tell them come and join us. It's really fun. I was even thinking about getting some schools, like a school where I work at John Marshall. I was thinking, how about if we tell the kids and have them come? I'm sure they would love this. They love to paint.
Thanks, Noreen. Now let's switch gears, and I'll take you out to the median on Palm Drive and see what the volunteers are up to. I'm here with Ernie Jimenez, one of the Neighborhood Services field representatives. So, Ernie, what are the volunteers working on today?
We're here on the 400 block of Palm. We're working on the city island here.
What are some of the problems that you've encountered as a Neighborhood Services field rep with this area?
We have a lot of dumping over here, so the city has posted no dumping signs here. We get a lot of sofas, furniture, just anything you can imagine dumped over here. So we're trying to show the neighbors how nice this area can look if it gets maintained. So hopefully with the plants planted here, they'll see it. And our goal is to do this one island this year and then finish with the rest of the islands, one each year in following years.
After the volunteers are done beautifying this median, what's your goal with this project?
Parks will maintain the plants and water it and that, and then myself and the other field reps from Neighborhood Services will drive by and make sure on a daily basis that nothing gets dumped, and then we'll talk to the neighbors and educate them on dumping and get them to call the bulky items if they need to have anything picked up.
That reminds me to remind our viewers, if you do need a free bulky item pickup, you can call the city's integrated waste at 818-548-3916 and they'll come out and pick up your items for free. I'm here with Julie Fine. She's the director of Lakeside Community Healthcare, and they've been sponsoring and participating in this event for several years. So, Julie, what keeps Lakeside coming back to this event every year?
Lakeside likes to participate in all of the things that happen in the city of Glendale. As you know, Glendale is the jewel city, and we appreciate that, and we want to continue and support them and keep this city really nice. We have a corporate office here, a surgery center, we have doctors' offices that are multi-specialty, and it's as important to us as it is to the city to keep it looking wonderful and nice.
Thanks for supporting the community and helping out with the beautification efforts of the committee. Now let's go find out what some of the other volunteers are doing. I'm here with Alicia, Janessa, and Alexia. Their parents work at Lakeside Community Healthcare, one of the sponsors of the event. So, girls, what are you doing here today?
Planting flowers, planting trees, raking, and cleaning up.
We're doing planting to beautify Glendale. It's a community project sponsored by my work.
We like to be involved in the community. Our corporate office is here in Glendale, so we like to participate in what we can for community activities too.
Why is it important for companies and corporations that are located in Glendale to participate in events like this?
If you can get the volunteers to come out and show the sponsorship, it shows the community that you care about their community.
I've never been in a city like Glendale where there's so much community involvement. Glendale takes a lot of pride in their community. This was a great opportunity to come out here today and help contribute to that.
We make a good team. Come here. As you can see, the volunteers from Glendale are so giving of their time. Let's go to Fremont Park where the LA Rose Society is sprucing things up. Joining me is Marcia Sanchez-Walsh of the Los Angeles Rose Society. The Rose Society is collaborating with the city today to revitalize this rose garden here at Fremont Park. So Marcia, can you explain what the volunteers are doing here?
We're planting this bed of 7 Mr. Lincolns here. The rest of the team is deadheading the rest of the established roses in the rest of the garden. And we hope to transplant all of the roses over the next couple of years here and really make it a destination garden.
That's great. So Vivian, is this your first time at the Great American Cleanup?
Yes, I'm ashamed to say it is only my first time.
How do you like this rose project? Have you learned anything so far?
Yes, I learned how to prune a rose bush, which I have never known in my life, which is wonderful because I'm going to go to my son's house. I'm going to prune his roses because he doesn't know how either.
So Dalton, is this your first time to the Great American Cleanup?
No, it's not. I did it another time when I was about 7, and we cleaned up cigarette butts all across the sidewalks.
So from cigarette butts to planting roses, which one do you prefer?
I like planting the roses a little bit more. Cigarette butts are kind of hard to pick up each time, but the cigarette butts help more. So.
And what have you learned today from the rose planting project so far?
That it's really hard to get weeds up, and cutting the rose buds to produce more rose buds are pretty awesome, I guess. Very amazing.
So Marcia, if somebody's out there watching this and is interested in roses, how can you get more information or contact the Rose Society?
Well, we have a great website at www.larosesociety.com, and we're also on Facebook at Los Angeles Rose Society. You can email me at larosesociety@gmail.com. We'll answer questions you have, and we meet once a month. We have a great LA Rose Show at Descanso Gardens in October 17th and 18th this year, I believe. And then we will be meeting in the city of Glendale starting in the year 2010, and we're really excited about that.
Take it down north. My grandpa, city of grandpa, sitting by the fire. My grandpa.
What do you like best about volunteering?
That I know it's going to help a lot and it makes the world a better place.
I think if we just clean up the whole entire Earth, it'll be like a diamond in space. So there's not any trash or anything on the ground.
That's great. Well, you guys, it sounds like you did a lot of work. What did you get to do today?
Pick up trash and go on do graffiti and stuff like that. It was fun. It was very, very, very fun. I loved it.
You did? Well, that's wonderful.
Today, Keep America Beautiful has asked us to look around and recognize one of you with a Hometown Hero Award. So I would like to welcome up here today Mr. Johnny Harrison of Glendale, Lexus. Please, everybody, round of applause.
Thank you very much. I got to tell you, being a business in Glendale is amazing. And as we were talking earlier, it's not about just what I'm able to do, thank God, to be able to support this, but it's what you do. I mean, I'm just sitting around looking at all these people every single day to all these events that we help sponsor, put together. And it's hats off to you. Hats off to the community leaders that are here. This is one great city. It really is. As I drive around this morning looking at everybody on the streets, picking up trash, keeping our city clean and beautiful. That's what makes us different. You know, of all the communities in Southern California, you will not see this anywhere other than here. So thank you all for showing up and being here. This is what makes this thing all fun and exciting and all. Thank you.
Today was all about the quality of life of our city. The Committee for a Clean and Beautiful Glendale, its community partners, and volunteers know that a beautiful community is not only nice to look at, but it's also a vibrant place where people want to live, work, play, and shop. That's why events like today's Great American Cleanup are so important to our city.
If you're interested in volunteering, visit www.cleanupglendale.org or call Neighborhood Services at 818-548-3700. Without you, our valued volunteers, things like this would not happen. The Great American Cleanup would not be able to be completed and all of the activities wouldn't be accomplished. So thank you all for all your hard work, and we'll see you next year. For NSTV, I'm Noreen Benjaminson. Thanks, Elena.
And I'm Elena Boboyan. See you next year.
Thanks, Noreen and Elena. Being mindful of all the things you can do to keep your neighborhood clean and beautiful year-round is very important. It helps everyone who lives, works, and conducts business in Glendale enjoy a high quality of life.
It really does. Community members that take care of their neighborhoods by maintaining their own homes and yards in superb condition year-round are often recognized for their efforts with a GEM Property Maintenance Award.
The GEM Property Maintenance Award recognizes curbside appeal, structural improvements that enhance the property, and outstanding landscaping. Up next, we will visit with correspondent and Committee for a Clean and Beautiful Glendale member Joan Zierhut at the home of Mr. and Mrs. Smith as they're presented with the well-deserved GEM Award.
With me today is Bruce and Julie Smith in front of their beautiful home at 1630 Santa Barbara Avenue. They are the proud recipients of the Committee for a Clean and Beautiful Glendale GEM Property Maintenance Award. First of all, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourselves?
I started working in Glendale in 1983 at a hair salon. Worked in Glendale up until about 6 years ago when I opened up my first salon in La Cañada. Got our first home in Glendale in 1989 and been here ever since for 20 years.
We ended up in this neighborhood because we lived in Glendale, loved Glendale always, and but a lot of what we did was on this side of Glendale. So we decided to move into this neighborhood and have been here for 3 years and really love it. I think that in his business, he likes results. He likes someone to come in and then he takes care of them and they walk out and they feel like, wow, I new feeling, I feel great. And I think that in the yard, it's kind of the same thing. He'll look at it and go, oh, I need to get some color in here. I need to change this. I need to change that. And he gets instant gratification because within a couple hours, he's transformed it. I mean, we'll come out and go, oh my gosh, look what Dad's done, in just this period.
And you were saying it's kind of like therapy for you after being in the...
Yeah, because I'm a hairdresser and I'm in the salon 10 to 12 hours a day. And so my only chance is probably on a Sunday to really get out here and work on the yard. But I'm always tweaking it and cutting dead stuff off, and it really makes it want to grow better when you're cutting away dead stuff. And so I get out there and I look at it, what I think needs to be done, and I take it off and add something. If something's dyed or like an annual flower, I just take it out and put something else in along with color. Works for the time of the year.
And any quick tips or helpful hints for the viewers?
Well, I use, and you can see in the beds over here, I've used sort of a bark, and what that does is like a twofold thing. It keeps the weeds out, so I don't have to always weed the yard, and it keeps the moisture in. So in this part of the yard, the sun hits this time only one time a year, which is in the summertime. It really cooks this area so I can hold the moisture in it. So just going out and working at it all the time. I think that's just a tip. Pride of ownership, take care of your yard.
So you've done a wonderful job with your home. And on behalf of the Committee for a Clean and Beautiful Glendale, we'd like to hand you the Neighborhood Pride Award from the Jewel City. Congratulations to you both.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. I just want to thank the City of Glendale for this award, and thanks for recognizing my house and the work that I do. I don't really do it to get an award, I do it because I like to do it. And so, thank you very much.
Thank you both. And from 1630 Santa Barbara Avenue, I'm Joan Zerhut, and back to you.
Congratulations to the Smith family. Your home and yard are a wonderful asset to the community. For information on how to nominate a property for a GEM Award, visit keepglendalebeautiful.org.
You will also find information on the variety